Hey everyone, I am Dan.
I'm Elisa.
This is our JRPGLife. Today we're going to do a tier list of the mainline Final Fantasy games. And we're going to count both of our votes as individual because we have a little bit of variance in our opinions.
We're different gamers.
We are, and that's okay, but there are a lot of games we really agree with, so if you like Final Fantasy rankings, or if you like Final Fantasy, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to us, we'd really appreciate it. A couple disclaimers. First of all, we're not going to count any of the non-mainline entries, like the offshoots like Dirge of Cerberus, and we're not going to count the MMOs.
Yeah, so no 11 or 14.
Exactly. Let's start at Final Fantasy I. Did you ever play it?
I played a little bit of it, but not very much.
What'd you play it on? Probably GBA?
I played the PlayStation version on, was it
Origins.
Origins.
Mm-hmm. In your opinion, where does this one rank? S being the top tier and F being horrible, don't ever play this game.
I mean, it's kind of difficult because, like, this game did really well during the time that it launched a whole franchise.
Revolutionary. But
going back and playing it now, obviously we've had a lot of creature features, and this is very, very basic. So I'm gonna say B.
B? Okay. B solid for a very old retro Final Fantasy. I agree. I played it a little bit on original Nintendo, but my main experience with it was with the Game Boy Advance. I played through Dawn of Souls, which was 1 and 2, and I really liked the final bosses, you know, the Zemus and Zeramis, and the kind of classic dungeon crawling style of it, but it is very vanilla.
Yeah.
I will agree, and I'll say that this is probably a B. It's replayable. I would play it today.
Yeah.
But probably not on the NES.
I mean, the nice thing is with the pixel remasters, there's, you know, new creature features that you can speed up battle and change things up a little bit.
Yeah, so that's probably going to be the experience that we have.
And for those of you that don't know, there is a standard edition from PlayAsia.com that's in English, so you don't have to take out a second mortgage on your house.
Exactly. So to be clear, Final Fantasy II is not this. This is Final Fantasy IV, but it was Final Fantasy II in the US.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy II, which is on Dawn of Souls in this example.
Yeah, so this one's the one with the Emperor. I believe this one, is this the one that's the goofy one?
Yeah, this is the one that first introduced Chocobos and Cid.
Which are very important things to the franchise.
Very, yeah. The thing about this one that stood out is that it has the activity-based progression.
Yeah, it's got the weird experience system in it.
So if you want to level up a weapon or a skill, you have to use it, and then that's the only way. They don't like have other ways of leveling up. It's kind of weird.
I'm gonna knock this one down to probably a C.
Yeah.
It's definitely not my favorite of the franchise. I'm awfully nice, so I'm gonna give it a C. But the weird leveling it up system just was really off-putting to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have to like grind, but to have to use the same skill over and over again to level is kind of weird.
And for one of the main characters to be Guy, you know, they don't have the most exemplary cast of characters.
Right, so for me, I'm going to straight up agree with you. I think that this is an average Final Fantasy. I would probably rather play one if I were to play between the two.
Yeah.
Especially because of the bad experience system. So, and I think Furion's kind of a forgettable main character as well.
Well, yeah, that and the Emperor for the main bad guy.
Main bad guy, yeah, he's whatever. So 3 is not this 3. This is 6.
Yeah.
This is just 3 in the US. This is the real 3. So there's only 2 ways we got this game in the US.
Yeah, the DS version in front of us.
Yep, and the Pixel Remaster.
Yes.
That's it. Mort, don't let anybody know that we're referencing our phone for notes. You just know all this by heart. So anyways.
So I know there's Lunith and Ark in it.
Refia.
Yeah.
Refia, yeah.
Again, probably not the most stellar cast of characters. I remember playing this on DS and it being a little more challenging off the bat. Like, as soon as I wandered out of the first town, and I probably wasn't supposed to yet, I just got annihilated.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out about this one is Cloud of Darkness.
Oh yeah.
Really, really cool kind of boss enemy, tentacles, green, weird. I think that's really neat.
Yeah, really cool character design for a boss, the bad guy.
I've never played this one all the way through.
I've never completed it either.
It's because of the accessibility. Like, if we're going to play it, we're probably going to play it on the Pixel Remaster.
Yes, this will definitely be something we'll play more in the future. I definitely want to play more of the future. I'm actually going to give it a B, because I do want to play more of it.
Yeah, you know what? I think, so B for you?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I would say that it is the one I want to play the most next.
Because there's a job class system in it.
It's not very refined like 5, but it's there.
See, I struggle a little bit more with job classes. I kind of rather have the characters be what they are and decide whether or not to use them to my playstyle.
I'm going to give this one a C because I think that it has to grow on me a bit.
Final Fantasy II. I mean, Final Fantasy IV.
This is one that I know people either played 6 or 4 generally, so 2 or 3 on the Super Nintendo, and they either love one or the other generally, and I think you fall in the latter, unfortunately. You like 6 more.
So my first Final Fantasy experience was actually Final Fantasy VI, or as the US got it, Final Fantasy III.
Yeah.
We played that first, and I remember asking my brother at Blockbuster, yes, Blockbuster, if we should play this. And he was like, well, it's not as good as the one we've been playing. And I was like, oh. And we did rent it, and right off the start, I could tell that like the graphics weren't nearly as interesting as Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah, it's a step back from what you experienced.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally get
think
that.
if I would have experienced this first, I would love it more. And I know the cast of characters is fantastic.
Yeah, Cecil, Kane,
Rosa.
Rosa Golbez is the main enemy, which is kind of cool.
Radia
Radia is awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
cool
Summoner.
Jinx again!
I think that's the first introduction of a summoner in a Final Fantasy game, if I'm correct.
Let us know below.
3.
Was this the first introduction to a summoner in Final Fantasy?
I know it was the first airship they had. I played this one first, and actually I played it through one of my old friends, Paul, and I played this back in his house when I was very young, and he played through the whole thing. You go to the moon. It's kind of neat. The thing about this game, it was hard to get ethers. Ethers were like the main item that if you got them, you just held on to them forever because they're very hard to obtain until you get to the moon. Then it's a little easier. So where do you rank this one?
I'm gonna go A.
You know, A. I think A is. I think we have to be at A, knowing how many people love this game.
Well, just the cast of characters and like the story right off the bat is very interesting. You know, you're kind of fighting like as the bad guys, but not really the bad guys.
I mean, Kane and Cecil have the neat, kind of combo between them.
Duality,
yeah. So I am right with you, honestly. I'm gonna go with A.
It's like we're married or something.
Yeah, it's weird, right? And I'm sure we're like this with every Final Fantasy, right? Just agree on all of them?
We'll see about that.
Okay, so next. So we got the pleasure of both experiencing this one for the first time together. The only 2 ways to play it in the US before the Pixel Remaster was this way, and
the PlayStation.
And the PlayStation Final Fantasy Anthology.
This game, it does not hold your hands.
Not at all.
It's difficult, and it's one of those things where during certain boss battles, you need a strategy guide to know that there's a trick to defeating him. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in the forest for 3 years.
Oh my god, the forest. The Forest of Illusion, I think it's called. It just takes forever to get through.
Oh yeah, we got stuck there for quite a while, and
left the game for a little while. Came back later and went, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Don't do that in RPGs, by the way.
Yeah.
Just keep with it.
yeah. Go ahead, hop on the internet.
Yeah.
If you have a strategy guide, bust it open.
The boss with the orbs that there's only 2 ways to beat, and one of the ways is literally to throw money in it, and that's the only way to kill it.
Yeah.
That was rough.
That was like one of the tricks.
So the benefits, obviously, this has butts or Barts. Right?
Yeah, I grew up with it being butts.
And I think it has Galoof, like the old guy, and then his son, or his daughter, Kryle, which are kind of really, really cool cast. But who was the main enemy? This is X-Death.
Yeah.
Which is a very strange androgynous kind of creature of some sort that we still don't really know. Well, at the end you kind of learn a little bit. But
yeah. This game is amazing,
hard.
But it's difficult.
Very challenging. I would say it's probably the hardest Final Fantasy out of the whole series, in my opinion.
I think that's fair to say. I think I agree with you. And by the way, the reason why we didn't get this in the States when it came out originally is because it was so difficult, they didn't want to bring it out to the stateside.
Yeah.
And so we got Mystic Quest instead. And
Mystic Quest is the easiest Final Fantasy ever created.
Yes, it's a baby's first RPG.
100%.
So I'm going to go A+, right in between S and A.
Yeah. So right on the edge here.
Yeah.
when we played this one together, I drove and she watched primarily.
Yeah.
So I got to experience a lot of the frustrations of the challenge. Some of the challenge comes into the fact that it's old too, so there's not a lot of guidance or map, like they don't give you quest markers or anything like that.
See, I'm a strategy guide-ist.
And I don't like using them unless it's like a good example of where I'd use a strategy guide would be like Riku's mix in Final Fantasy X. Like, why waste all your items if you can just look up this things to mix in order to use them? Like, that's a good example of when to use a strategy guide.
Well, I like to just kind of not quite read ahead or like read along, so I don't miss an item that will never be available ever again at the beginning of the game, and you've gotten halfway through the game like, man, I could really use something that does this, and you look it up and like, oh, it was in the first chapter.
Yeah. So for me, I'm going to go a little lower. I'm just going to say regular A. Because playing it was a chore at times. But it's such a good game otherwise. Next up we have...
Final Fantasy VI.
Final Fantasy VI. I have this problem with Final Fantasy VI that I've tried to play through it about a dozen times.
You're just cursed.
I'm cursed with this game. I have had problems at the Phoenix Caverns at least a dozen times. My game broke, or the battery stopped working in it, or I loaned it to a friend and he actually accidentally deleted my file. If you're watching this, John, you know who I'm talking about.
You're unfriended.
He felt so bad about it.
That was me.
And the first time I ever played through this was with my friend Paul, and then we both went away into college in different cities and all that when he got to the Phoenix Caverns.
Yeah.
So I didn't see past the Phoenix Caverns until I became an adult and played it again on the Game Boy Advance. Turn-based RPG, it has all the classic Terra, Locke, the Yeti, random stuff like that. Great summoning system, not really job classes. Cyan's cool as heck, like Sabin can suplex a train, like all the classic things. The opera scene, which makes you tear up a little bit because it was so good. This one is, in my opinion, the best retro Final Fantasy. The pre-7 era, hands down, and I'm calling it S tier. Honestly.
We rented this at Blockbuster. We rented it multiple times because, like, back then, like, I remember we could only rent it for, like, 2 nights, maybe. Mm-hmm. Or it was, like, 1 night and we had to get back by, like, noon or something. It was so troublesome because this game, it's not the longest RPG, but it's at least a good 40 hours.
Yeah.
And when we were trying to bust 40 hours, we were kids. Like, we couldn't do that.
No.
So we would rent it, and we were in a small enough town that there was a chance that we might still have our save file on there the next weekend, but we would have to replay it every single time until about halfway through the game, the end of the world is where we got every single time. We had to replay it. Like, I kid you not, we've probably rented this at least 6 times.
Which they could have bought it at that point for that price, I'm sure, back then. It was like an $80 game, I think.
Well, here's the thing is, we lived in a small town, and there wasn't access to just buying something. To buy this from the store was like $60 to $80.
I think it was $79.99 brand new.
It was a lot of money for the 90s, Like, if we wanted to buy a game ourselves and not wait for Christmas or a birthday, like, we had to pull everything. Yep. Absolutely. S tier. This is my favorite Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
And we did get it for Christmas the following year. At this point, the PlayStation came out, and my dad got this for us, and he didn't think we would want to play it because it was on the old Super Nintendo, and he just gave us a PlayStation as a family to share for Christmas with all these new games. But no,
we were so
excited to play this, and we played it all the way through as fast as we could. There's nothing I can say wrong about this game.
Yeah, it's just a great game through and through.
The turn-based combat is the best experience that you'll have with turn-based, like in a retro RPG.
Now we get to 7, and I think this is where things change for us a little bit. So,
maybe
I had the problem of playing 8 before 7, just like you played 6 before 4. When I went to, after playing 8 thoroughly, and we'll talk about 8 in a little bit, I went back to 7 and went, this looks horrible. The characters, I wasn't very much into it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I know it's a hit and everybody loves it and it's one of the biggest fan favorite games out there, but for me, I either wanted retro or I wanted 8 and newer, so just not that big of a fan of it. I definitely appreciate where it is in the world, and I like the character classes, and I like the Magistite setup, but I'm going to go with C-Class because I still think it's a good game, but it's just not for me.
Dang. I experienced this game when it launched. We played it on the PlayStation. Mainly, I had to take backseat to this game because when you have older siblings, they play first before you get your turn.
Yeah.
I love this game. The story was pretty wild, you know. Like at the time, I really loved the modern dystopian world.
Yeah.
You know,
future-ish.
Industrial.
Yeah. Industrial future. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I still love the fact that everyone had like swords, but there was like the motorcycle, you know, scene, which was just crazy at the time. You know, the graphics had just moved to that polygon look to it. At the time, I'm like, you know, I like Final Fantasy's, like old Final Fantasy VI's sprites better. You know, it was a little bit of adjustment, and that's kind of the interesting thing is I feel like the retro 8-bit 16-bit characters are timeless compared to the awkward polygons. The story and the characters are really fantastic. So I'm gonna just put it in a regular A.
Regular A? Okay.
Because like it's ugly.
It is ugly. I'll let you start.
Oh man, Final Fantasy VIII. I had a demo disc for Final Fantasy VIII. We loved the demo.
Yeah.
We thought it was great. We wanted more of that.
I also played the demo on PC when I first played it.
Yeah.
Forever. Just played Blonde Garden over and over again.
Yeah. And then we got Final Fantasy VIII. And like, right off the bat, Squall just hates everything.
Kind of like Cloud.
I mean, Cloud is like different. Like, this is like depressed teenager versus like PTSD soldier.
True.
Kind of whiny teenager complaining about how he doesn't want to do anything and he doesn't want to be bothered, and Bruno's real cute, but oh man, is she annoying. You know, and like,
fair assessment.
He doesn't give two S's about her until she's going to die forever. Part of it's the attitude, like, I don't care about anything. People keep asking me to do stuff and I don't want to do stuff.
But there's a whole game around him. Gameplay.
Sure.
World building.
The draw system is not my favorite. Having to sit there and I'm one of those, like, I gotta have everything like maxed out stats. Just sit there and draw and draw and draw and draw and draw and draw like until I have maxed out stats, right? And then you have the Guardian Force system that you have to equip, and it will unequip off of your characters during certain stories as they come in and out of your party. And if you don't remember to re-equip them, you're just gonna get annihilated. So I found the draw system and the junction system to be really frustrating, and I didn't find it very...
You just didn't find it fun.
I didn't find it fun.
And you didn't like the story.
But the game was beautiful in comparison.
It was.
You know, I love the waltz. We actually danced the waltz together at our wedding.
Which is way faster than it seems, by the way.
Yeah.
She was spinning around like a top. It was awesome.
Yeah. There's like 12 spins in a row, and I did them all.
It was awesome.
It was beautiful, but it was dumb. I didn't like it. I didn't like the characters, and like the more and more the story went on, the more I'm like, this is terrible.
So what's your final assessment of Final Fantasy VIII?
I'm trying to think if there is anything I like worse than Final Fantasy VIII.
I could think of one that comes up later that we both agree on.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm gonna give it a D-.
Okay. D-.
Right.
Put it way up front.
Oh, okay.
So Final Fantasy VIII was my first 3D Final Fantasy that I played. I played it before I played 6, before I played 7, and loved it. I'm not a big story guy. I'll get like the main elements of the plot and all that don't really matter to me. The little moments matter to me, like the space scene and like traveling back in time and her getting, you know, possessed by Ultimecia and stuff like that. Like those are really neat. You know what other game has time travel is Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, it makes sense though. Which you haven't played through.
Almost. So, I should edit that out.
Nope.
Final Fantasy VIII is it bounces between my top and second favorite Final Fantasy of all time. I love the music, loved the gameplay, loved the characters. I don't care if he was whiny. It didn't bother me. I don't attach to characters that much where it bothers me.
Because were you a whiny teenager that wasn't bothered by anything and didn't want to do anything?
Maybe. The junction system is beautiful. The fact that I could strategize, I die to a boss and I go, okay, well let me strategize knowing it does this and this and make it so that you can kind of gambit like Final Fantasy XII style your way into the fight.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I don't like using magic anyways. I like using summons and big attacks and limit breaks, so I just stocked the magic for stats. It was great. I love it. For me, it is S tier. And I know that's way different than you, and that's okay. But it is an S tier game.
Sometimes I wonder how we're married.
But you know what? We have this behind us, and we have a lot of Final Fantasy VIII figures because she appreciates the Amano art.
Yeah,
which is great.
The art is really cool.
Well, so far that's the biggest delta between us.
Yeah.
So next up, we need to go to another one that's kind of probably a delta is Final Fantasy IX.
Final Fantasy IX is probably one of the best fantasy Final Fantasies. I love the like play aspect, theater play. Of course, everybody loves Vivi.
Vivi's one of the best characters ever made in Final Fantasy, in an RPG.
I think it's pretty universal that everybody loves Vivi. I've never heard someone like, oh man, that stupid Vivi.
You couldn't hate him.
The style, I think, is beautiful for most of the characters, but I never quite liked Zidane's face in the CG. He looks a little bit like a mannequin or a ventriloquist doll. I absolutely love this game. I think it's definitely, it's easily one of my favorite games. I think the combat is good. There's one flaw in the combat that universally everyone hates is the trance system.
100% agree. It's the dumbest limit break system ever in a Final Fantasy in existence.
So,
what's its grade?
You know, we forgot to talk about your favorite part of Final Fantasy VIII, Triple Triad.
Triple Triad's great.
So,
Triple Triad in Final Fantasy VIII is better than the Final Fantasy IX card game.
Yes, which is what I was going to bring up. I'm still going with, I'm going to go A+.
A+? Okay. So
I think I like it more than Final Fantasy VII. Okay. But I don't like it as much as Final Fantasy VI.
For me, I played this one after I tried 7. Graphics and the style, I love. The music, it has my favorite song in all of Final Fantasy, which is Behind the Door, which is the song that plays during the end sequence. It has my least favorite combat system out of every single Final Fantasy ever made.
But it's just because of the trance system, right?
That's part of it. It was also, like, Vivi's dual cast was stupid. Let's wait a turn and cast a spell twice. Just think about that. I could cast the spell once on this turn and once on next turn, or I could cast it twice later. Sure, it becomes triple, I think, eventually, but stuff like that. The design was a little poorly executed. So for me, Final Fantasy IX has some of the best music in the series, some of the best art, some of the worst combat. The way the characters develop is also kind of lame. Not as much customization as I want. Final Fantasy VIII had all the customization. I rushed through it because I didn't enjoy my experience very much. So I'm putting this one in D. It's not one I really want to play again. If I want to have a story, I'll watch a movie or read a book. Like, I didn't enjoy the gameplay in this one, so I don't want to play it again. And thinking about that, it's probably a D. Final Fantasy X, this is our James Arnold Taylor signed copy, which is cool.
Yep.
This game got me back into RPGs.
Yeah.
I didn't have a PS2. I hadn't played a Final Fantasy since I busted through 9 and went, okay, I'm done playing RPGs for a while, and I played a bunch of other stuff. I saw this on the shelf at Hastings, and I went, okay, it looks cool. I'll have to give it a shot. It is, in my opinion, one of the best classic style Final Fantasies out there. It's modern graphics, obviously. The sphere grid, the combat is clean. The story is great. The summons are beautiful. I think that even though it's linear, that doesn't really bother me that much. I would still put this one easily A tier. I don't think it's S tier because there are things that are done better after that, but I think A tier is a fair place for it for me.
I have a photo of me holding this as a Christmas gift.
Same year I got it, I'm sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the same time that we got a PS2. Like, family gift, you know. The graphics at this stage of Final Fantasy was...
blew us away.
Top notch.
Oh, man.
Like, we'd never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Experience it for the first time. Music is crazy good.
So good.
Like, we both...
To Zanarkand, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think we were, like... talking a lot at that point in
we
our
were both
lives.
in high school and friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like we both bought like the same soundtrack from the same store on like a band trip.
Yep.
Yeah, To Zanarkand is one of the prettiest songs I've ever heard.
Yep. Sudeki Dane is great. There's so many classics from this one.
I feel like people have forgotten when this game came out, it was not received as well.
It was received
as
averagely.
People remember it. Like, people go back and think about it now and, like, are just nostalgia struck.
Yeah.
This game was super linear.
Super.
When you're coming from all of those past...
The PlayStation 1s, yeah.
you know, PlayStation 1 games and the retro games, it was very, very linear.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. You know, I didn't like that we couldn't explore. The combat was fine. Yeah, it's turn-based, but there was the...
You could switch your characters out on the fly, which was cool.
But you lose a turn.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, which I didn't like that. We went down to 3 characters in your party instead of 4. I love this game, but there was aspects of it that I didn't love so much. I thought like Sin as a boss was kind of goofy.
It's kind of meh.
I love the story, didn't like the linearity. The combat I wasn't too excited about. I'm gonna rank it as a B.
Okay,
Like,
that's fair.
I would replay it, but do I love it as much as 9 or 6 or 5?
No.
No.
Yeah. Final Fantasy X-2 kind of blew me away when it came out. A friend of mine played it all the way through, and I saw it go almost to 100% completion. To get the best ending, you have to get everything, and we only missed one. You can talk to a person in a Moogle costume that's hidden in the first area, and if you don't go randomly talk to this thing you can't see, you can only get 99.8% completion, and you don't get the good ending.
Yeah.
Everything else was done. The combat was cool. The dress spheres were actually pretty neat. I know it's like all girl powery and stuff, but I found the dress spheres to be really fun and innovative in the way that you could have them on their own grid and kind of replace them and set each person to their own kind of grid for it. It was really kind of cool and innovative, and I liked the way it played. However, as you know, Modern Times have been trying to play through this game because I've never personally beat it. I've just watched it be beat, and I can't stick with it. It doesn't hold my attention enough.
Yeah, you get kind of bored with it.
Yeah, and that's probably because of the age of it. I think there's some great music and some great things in it, but for me, it's probably like a C. Honestly.
Yeah.
And that's probably about where I think...
I think you like it a little bit more than that. You've been...
But I don't beat it.
Yeah.
I don't personally beat it, and I can't play through it, and I think that's a big gauge on how much I like it now, you know?
Yeah. I did not like this game at all. I didn't like the fact that Yuna was slutted up and was given a Tomb Raider redesign from her summoner outfit, given 2 pistols, right? And hottie hot short shorts. Riku got, she was always a little promiscuously dressed in the first game, which is fine. I don't have any problems with any of those things.
Elisa's great. She's not offended by fan service. She actually finds it entertaining. And
yeah,
funny.
I think it's funny. Like, I watch all the anime, and I play all the
weird games.
Senra Kagura doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it's fine.
The weird girl power and dress spheres and it was forcing this
They went too far. I think that Final Fantasy X adequately portrayed Yuna and Riku as powerful.
Yes.
And then this game was like, well, look how more powerful they are.
Yeah, they were equals in Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
And then they gave them this I don't know what else to call it, but just sluttied up makeover. Yuna wasn't a summoner anymore.
So where do you rank it?
I played this game for maybe 3 hours, and I was so upset because of the dress spheres, because of the way that the characters changed.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a mockery, at the time. And I know that's probably surprising for a lot of people to hear me say this, but I should probably give it a new chance, honestly, because of when I played it. I'm gonna give it a D.
We're not too far off. C and D is pretty close.
Maybe someday I'll give it another chance.
So we're skipping over 11, and we're going right to
12.
Final Fantasy XII. Did you play it when it originally came out?
You know, I didn't have a chance. I was a broke college student. In every definition of the word broke college student. I have played it as a couple's experience together.
Your main experience was when we played it together.
Yeah. Before that, just kind of dabbled. I think the story's great in it. I love the art style. I really like, what's his name?
Balthier?
Balthier, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. That is my one complaint about this game is all the names are really kind of weird and complicated. Like,
and the city names, Bujerba.
Bujerba. I love, it was such a weird word for me to say that once I learned how to say it.
It's our cat's middle name, by the way.
It's
Setzer Bujerba.
It's like the Smurfs and like, oh, that's so Smurf and cool, you know?
Yeah.
But here we're just like, Bujerba.
We played it together, and in the Zodiac Age, I think it was on PS4 when we played it.
Yeah.
And I originally played it back when it came out. I was playing it at the end of the PlayStation 2 life, and then I bought the new backwards compatible PS3 when it first came out. And I was playing it on that, and I beat it on the PS3.
So I feel like the storyline of this Final Fantasy is more mature. It's more political.
I agree. Very political. A little bit too political for my likings.
I think the parts where it's Vaughn and Pinello are kind of like the more parts of the games. But once you get more with Ash and Balthier
and Bosch,
like it's pretty cool. I really like this game, even though it had a very different battle system. It was the Gambit system, which looked kind of like you're playing an MMO, which was like very big at the time. But you just assigned like actions.
You program their actions. If you do this, then do that in like a priority order.
So I'm gonna give it a solid B.
Solid B.
Actually, you know what? I'll give it a B+.
B+? Okay. I feel similarly about this game. The story was needlessly complicated for me at times because I'm already bad at paying attention to stories. And when it came to politics, I'm like, I hate politics. But with the backstory of Bosch and his twin brother, and then like Ash coming into play as like the hidden princess who's like, and then Fran and Balthier, and they're kind of back and forth, and then Fran's backstory and all that, Fran or whichever. It was awesome.
Yeah.
The gameplay and the combat was incredible. I love the Gambit system so much.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Love it. The challenge behind it, like it had a lot of similarities to 8, where you could kind of program how it was going to go. If you die to a boss, you're like, okay, well it does this and this, so if I set it up this way and this person do that. At one point in the game, I made Bosch a healer by giving him a hammer. And you cast reverse, and he would go around, his whole job was to berserk and hit your party over and over again, and he healed them by hitting them because of the reverse spell. It was so cool. You could do anything in this game.
I think this game, Final Fantasy XII, was the first mainline non-MMO that had a tank.
Oh yeah.
You had the
oh my gosh, it was so
decoy.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
You put the little duck over their head.
Yep.
It was so good.
Yep, that was really cool.
The combat in this game is so fun. The characters are great. Balthier is one of the coolest characters created in Final Fantasy.
Absolutely.
He's like a modern day Setzer. This game is one of my favorites of all the Final Fantasies.
Yeah?
I'm going to give it probably, I'm going to go A.
Okay.
I'm going to go A. I might have to overlap some of these because
So you feel equal about Final Fantasy X and 12?
I think so, for different reasons.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Dun dun dun. Final Fantasy XIII. This game is also cursed?
This game is cursed, yes. Around the time when I still had my original backwards compatible PS3, it died when I was playing this. I died about 30 hours in, which is when the game gets good. And then
I think it's 20 hours.
So I had to go get a new PS3. So I sent in. I had to wait like a month for PlayStation. At that time, for $99, you could send in your old backwards compatible one, and they'd send you a 120 gig slim.
Yeah.
So they sent me a slim. You know, while I was playing that, I also rented Blu-ray movies from Blockbuster. So I rented a Blu-ray movie from Blockbuster, and it had the sticker on it, that, you know, the anti-theft sticker.
Yeah.
And it came up in the system and flailed up and scratched the inside of my PS3.
Ruined the laser.
I didn't know until I started playing this game again, and I'm like, why is it like played for a little bit and then it stopped working and opened up, it was all scratched. I'm like, why is this? So I turned it in, traded it, I bought the warranty on it back in the GameStop days, and another hour or so the new disc got scratched. I'm like, what is going on? So after about 3 times trying to play the game, I realized, okay, there's something messed up. Opened my PS3 up, and the the little metal piece had come off in the PS3. So I took it to Blockbuster and I said, unfortunately, your disc broke my PS3. And they were like, oh, well, I'll fix that for you. So he fixed it, and I got it back. And I was playing it, and I made it all the way through to the final boss.
So did he fix this PS3, or did he give you a new PS3?
He fixed it. He opened it up and removed it, and he said, I didn't open it up to find out. I was like, what's going on? Your thing probably broke this. He opened up and said, yeah, I removed this. This was from our Blockbuster Blu-ray. So I was playing through the game right before the final boss. My new PS3 Slim power failed. But I had recently backed up a lot on a thumb drive because of my recent experiences with this.
Well, smart.
And you could do it back then, so I had a save of about an hour before that already on the thumb drive backed up, thank goodness. So I played it for a little bit and beat it at his house.
By the way, I've heard this story at least a dozen times.
I beat it, and then I had to send in my PS3 to get repaired by Sony, so I had to wait another couple months. And then when I got it back, they sent me a different console, which is fine. I had my save on my hard drive. So then I beat it again on my console, and I played like 180 hours on it and got every single thing. I got every single achievement but the last one, which was to 5-star Vercingetorix, which is the hardest like ultimate weapon in the game, and my hard drive failed. And I didn't have a backup save. So all 180 hours of grinding for the gems and everything, I lost.
I should go back up like my 300
Everything.
hours of Nina Kuni.
Yes, you should. I love this game. It is my favorite Final Fantasy game with 8. They're right next to each other. The gameplay is awesome. I don't care that it was linear for the first X amount of hours. The music is the best music of all Final Fantasies, hands down. The most comprehensive soundtrack, awesome music, the best battle music. Lightning's one of the coolest characters.
It's because she has pink hair.
Yeah, that's got to be part of it. The combat's awesome, totally different than anything any Final Fantasy's ever had, and I loved it. I don't care if it was linear at first, it really needed to be. For it to be as challenging as it was later, this is an S tier game for me.
This game, I don't remember if we were dating, if we just started dating, or if we were friends and just talking.
I think we were just friends and talking, yeah.
I bought a PS3 Slim to play this game.
Yes.
I stopped playing the other RPGs that I was playing at the time, and I played this game, and I got to the 20-hour marker, and I was bored. And I stopped playing because it was super linear, and I was pretty disappointed. I thought everything was cool, but I honestly just stopped playing it. He was like, you can't stop playing it, you're just about to hit the point where it gets good. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. So I went ahead and I continued playing it, and the whole game just completely opens up. Everyone talks about how dumb this game is because it's so linear, but if you don't get to the point in the game where it opens up, like, I was the same way. And once it opens up, it's just fantastic.
So good.
And the paradigm shift is probably one of the most challenging combats that I learned how to play myself. Yeah. And I beat the game, and I loved playing it. And I think this game gets a lot of crap for being linear, but I don't know how many more years is going to go by. People are going to look back the same way they feel about Final Fantasy X. I think there's going to be a generation of people that look back at this game with the same kind of nostalgia eyes. And I really encourage anybody who either hasn't played this game or had the same thing, was too linear to a certain point. This combat system is really fun.
So fun. It's so engaging.
And I am vanilla turn-based.
She plays Dragon Quest.
I am very vanilla combat, straightforward, and make it fun, but don't overcomplicate it. I got the paradigm shift system down, and like the tanks and the Ravagers, and you had the Medi heal tank, with Fang. This game was a lot of fun. I think I'm gonna go A+ and make everybody mad. And click off the video.
Let's go through the next two really quickly.
Well, that'll be easy.
Yeah, that'll be easy.
I actually really enjoyed this one. The thing that I love about it was the story. I thought it was really cool with the different time traveling periods, and I did like the combat where you got monsters, kind of like Pokemon, to be like your third party member. I thought it was fun. What I didn't like about it is this is the point in gaming where if you want the whole story, you had to pay for additional content. And I don't mean just side quests.
I mean ending.
The ending to the game.
Yeah.
You got a crappy ending if you didn't pay up for the additional DLC. I loved what I played of it. I hated the fact that this was the turning point of gaming. I'm gonna do B.
B? Okay.
Yeah. Because I did enjoy playing it.
I hate monster collectors.
Yeah.
I don't play them. I've beat a Pokemon, and that's as far as I'll go.
Yeah.
Couldn't stand that, and then once I found out all the endings were DLC and all that, I just kind of stopped.
Oh, you could get an ending. It wasn't good though.
Not a fan of this game. I think it's one of the worst ones they've made. I hate monster collectors. Take it out of my Final Fantasy. I'm going to give this one a D. Because it does still have the elements of the cool combat system, I can't give it an F. The paradigm shift system is awesome, but not a fan. Lightning Returns is technically a mainline sequel to Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and these are all a continuation of the same storyline.
story.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this is the worst Final Fantasy game that's ever been released.
I think I almost think there's one worse than this.
You're not going to say 8.
We'll see.
I'm going to grade this as an E. This whole game is a time trial. The plot is crappy.
The story just is so out there at this
Very
point.
Very convoluted, yeah.
They're like, what can we do now?
So I'm giving it a straight F. It's not worth playing. It's barely worth owning, unless you're just a Final Fantasy collector like we are.
I don't even think we bought this when it was brand new, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
Because we
play
always buy
yeah.
Final Fantasies like as soon as they come out. It's an F for sure.
It's an F.
For sure.
Next up is Final Fantasy XV. This is one that was a long time in the making. It was originally Final Fantasy XIII Versus.
Yeah.
And then it was in development hell for 8-9 years. And then it finally came out. And
it wasn't part of the 13
at all.
Franchise at all. And they changed up. I mean, besides the character Noctis, everything else was changed about it.
Yeah. When we played it, what did you think?
I was really excited, and I really wanted to love it. Mm-hmm. And I think there's aspects of the games that's good, but ultimately I hated how the story progressed and how it ultimately ended.
The plot was so bad that one of the original story creators apologized and said, we're going to make 16 better.
And this had the same problem with Final Fantasy 13 too, is if you wanted more story to make the game better and make more sense, you needed to pay for DLC. There was the movie, you had to buy a movie, watch the movie as a prequel.
Kingsglaive,
to make sense of the
plot. It's kind of a neat idea to say, if you watch this movie, it's going to help kind of develop the plot of it.
Sure. It should help round things out, but not necessary to watch. This game just made me mad.
So what would you rate it?
I want to give it an F, Lightning Returns, but I think I will give it a F-.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. E-.
E-.
We'll give it an E-.
It's a little better. It's more playable than Lightning Returns.
Yeah, it is more playable than Lightning Returns.
I know there are a lot of good gaming endgame aspects to it. Fighting some giant bosses and such. The combat was interesting.
Yeah.
The hunts were neat.
Yeah.
I thought the combat was fine. It wasn't as well developed as 16.
Unless you're in a cave and your sword's just banging up against the wall.
I rushed through this game kind of like I did 9.
Yeah.
I don't like this game. I don't want to play it again.
It makes me so mad.
It does. It sucks. I'll probably give it an E. A little higher.
And for as many years as it took to come out, there shouldn't have been any problems with this game.
Yeah.
Oh, so I thought this was pretty interesting. I think it's gonna, like Final Fantasy VII is bringing a new generation of RPG. And this might be someone's first Final Fantasy experience.
Yeah.
And
likely a lot of people. It sold very well.
I don't like that it's overly gritty, They
kind of leaned into the grit a little too much. Yeah, there's no lightheartedness, or very, very little.
It's very dark. It's very Game of Thrones-esque. Now, this has a crazy political... there are so many different kingdoms and who's with who, and they actually have a character. Her whole purpose is to tell you who's what's going on with the political system and the map. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going on.
And she has to, otherwise you just can't keep up.
I think this game is fine.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna give it a C.
Okay.
I enjoyed playing it. I think they did a good job. But it's one of those, I don't feel like this is a Final Fantasy game.
Right.
I think it's just too dark is what makes it not Final Fantasy in my mind.
Yeah, we picked this up and love the combat.
Yeah.
I think out of all the Final Fantasies, this has the worst soundtrack.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of variety to it. It was like maybe 10 songs, and I feel like
over and over again.
we only heard 3. Now, this game is beautiful.
Oh, it's so beautiful. The combat is so fun. For an action RPG, it felt smooth. There were good kind of skill trees that you could use. The customization of how you mixed and switched between the summons, it was awesome.
And Uncle's our favorite character.
Uncle is so good. I can't remember his name. Uncle Byron, I think.
Yeah. Anytime the Uncle was like involved, it was awesome. It's hilarious.
Sid was an incredible character.
Oh yeah, I love that voice actor.
In terms of games overall, this was one of my favorite games we played in the last few years.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Like, I would rank it much higher. Overall experience as a game, but as a Final Fantasy,
it's a little lower.
Yeah.
I would say that I'm going to be a little higher than you because I got to experience the combat myself.
Yeah.
And I loved the combat. Loved it. I'm going to give it a B. And I think it's a solid B. The music makes the game so much to me, and it was just
and I want Square to keep pushing the envelope and trying different things, but I just don't want a Souls dark gritty Final Fantasy.
That's what Stranger Paradise was, which wasn't a very good game. So that leaves our worst graded games together being Final Fantasy Lightning Returns and 15. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
And then our best ones were Final Fantasy 6, 8, and 13. Yeah, that's about right.
Well, 8 for you.
What do you guys think? Comment below. What's your favorite or least favorite? How close were you?
Yeah.
How close are you to our opinions?
Write your whole list in the comments. Actually, make every single Final Fantasy a different comment.
Right. Now, give us your favorite and your least favorite.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious. And people always ask me what my favorite is, and it's very close between 8 and 13.
6 is easily my favorite.
Yeah, 6 is great.
I know there's a lot of nostalgia, probably glasses on there, but honestly, there's nothing wrong with the game in my eyes.
So if you like this, please let us know in the comments. We might do more tier lists. We'll see how this does.
Well, we'll see how this video does.
There are a lot of offshoots of these games too.
Yeah,
we could talk about at some point.
We could do a whole video on the offshoots.
Yeah, like who wants a whole video on Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings?
Yeah, but there's Final Fantasy Tactics.
There's a lot,
It's a good one to talk about.
So thank y'all for watching, and remember, the couple that plays and enjoys Final Fantasy together stays together. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!